I thought my boyfriend was hiding a double life because he kept disappearing every Sunday. The truth was so much darker, and it was hiding in my own friend group. The human mind is a fascinating, terrifying engine of self-sabotage. It can take a single, unexplained data point and build a cathedral of anxiety around it. For me, that data point was Sunday. Specifically, the 4-hour window between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. every single Sunday, which belonged to my boyfriend Nomad, and was categorically not mine to touch. I, Maya, 24 years old and a chronic overthinker, had been dating Nomad for 10 months. In almost every conceivable way, he was a dream. At 26, he was a successful software architect, a man who built intricate logical systems for a living. He was thoughtful in a way that felt antique. He didn't just remember my birthday, he remembered the anniversary of my dog's passing because I'd mentioned it once in a moment of vulnerability. He could make me laugh until my sides ached with his dry, observant wit, and his calm, steady presence was a balm to my own occasionally frantic energy. When we were together, he was fully, completely present. His phone was away, his eyes were on me, and I felt like the center of his universe. But universes, I was learning, have black holes. The Sunday obligation, as I'd come to privately call it, began subtly. Around month 2, I tried to plan a spontaneous Sunday afternoon trip to a new vineyard that had opened an hour outside the city. "I can't do afternoons on Sunday," he'd said, his tone casual but final. "I have a standing commitment." "Oh, what kind of commitment?" I asked, picturing a brunch with his parents, a weekly soccer game. "Just a personal thing," he'd replied, offering a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "It's non-negotiable, I'm afraid." I'd let it go, assuming it was something he'd share when he was ready. But as the weeks turned into months, the personal thing became an immutable law of our relationship's physics. It was a fortress with no windows, and he was its sole, silent guardian. I learned to work around it. We could have Sunday morning picnics, provided I was gone by 12:30 p.m. We could have Sunday evening dinners, provided I didn't expect to see him before 6 p.m. The space in between was a void. My attempts to gently probe the fortress walls were met with a gentle but firm deflection. "It's just something I have to do," he'd say, or, "It's not interesting, I promise." His usual transparency evaporated on this single subject, leaving behind a frustrating opacity. The more he refused to talk about it, the larger it loomed in my imagination. It was no longer a minor curiosity. It was the one part of him he was actively withholding from me, and my mind, that treacherous engine, began to manufacture nightmares. The speculation from my friends poured gasoline on the fire of my anxiety. My social circle was a tight-knit group of 6 I'd met in college. Donna, the charismatic, sometimes imperious ringleader. Regina, sharp-tongued and brutally pragmatic. Jess, who followed Donna's lead with unwavering loyalty. And Tom, Lisa, and Maya, a different Maya, a coincidence that had been a fun icebreaker years ago, who were generally more laid back and less involved in the group's drama. We were at Donna's apartment for one of our regular game nights, a few months into the Sunday mystery. Nomad had, of course, declined the invitation. "So where's your better half?" Regina asked, not looking up from shuffling the Cards Against Humanity deck. "Tied up with his... what is it again? His secret society." I forced a laugh. "It's just a personal thing he does. He's very private about it." Donna handed me a glass of wine, her expression one of exaggerated concern. "Honey, you've been dating for what, 8 months now? Private is one thing. This is a pattern. A 4-hour, unreachable on the planet pattern." "Maybe he's a spy," Jess giggled, but her eyes were searching my face for a reaction. "Or he's married," Regina stated bluntly, laying down a card. "It's the perfect time slot. Sunday afternoons? The wife thinks he's at the gym or playing golf. It's classic." Tom looked up from his phone. "Come on guys, lay off. Maybe he's just, I don't know, building a rocket in his garage. Not everything is a soap opera." But the seed had been planted. Married. The word echoed in my head, finding fertile ground in my own fears. It made a horrible logical sense. The rigid schedule, the absolute secrecy, the defensiveness. The pieces fit a much darker picture than the one I had of the man who made me soup when I was sick. The pressure built steadily. Every Sunday the group chat would light up. Jess, anything? Did he give you a hint today? Regina, I saw this documentary about a guy with 2 families in the same city. You should see if he has a second phone. Donna, just be careful, sweetie. We're just worried about you. This isn't normal behavior in a committed relationship. Their constant buzzing concern felt like support at first, a lifeline in a sea of confusion. But slowly it began to feel like a cage. Their narrative was becoming my reality. I started to change. I'd scan his apartment for clues, a stray hairpin, a receipt from a restaurant I didn't know. I became hypersensitive to his phone notifications, my heart leaping into my throat every time it buzzed on a Sunday. Our Saturday nights, once so warm and intimate, were now tinged with the dread of the coming separation. I'd become clingy, needy, picking fights about anything to provoke a reaction, to somehow break through the Sunday wall. Why can't you just trust me? He'd ask, his face a mask of genuine confusion and hurt. This has nothing to do with you or with us. It's just something from my past that I have to manage. Something from your past that you can't share with me? I'd retort, my voice shrill. What does that say about you? The chasm between us was widening and my friends were on the other side, cheering me on. The tipping point was Donna's annual summer barbecue. It was a legendary event and I'd been talking it up for weeks. It was on a Sunday and I'd begged Nomad to just make an appearance, even for an hour. I can't, Maya, he said, his voice heavy with a frustration that mirrored my own. You know I can't. It's impossible. Why? Just tell me why. Is it so much more important than being there for me? Than meeting my friends properly for once? He just shook his head, a wall of miserable silence. I went to the barbecue alone. I had to field a constant barrage of questions and sympathetic looks. Donna put her arm around me. He didn't even try to come, did he? I'm so sorry. You deserve so much better than this. That night, drunk on wine and self-pity, I made the decision that would change everything. The following Sunday, I became the paranoid girlfriend I'd always sworn I'd never be. I followed him. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs as I sat in my car, parked a block down from his apartment building. The guilt was a physical weight in my stomach, but it was outweighed by a desperate, clawing need to know. At 12:45 p.m. precisely he emerged. He looked normal. Just my Nomad in a simple gray t-shirt and jeans. He got into his car and drove off. I followed, my hands slick on the steering wheel, keeping a car or two between us. He didn't drive to a seedy motel or a suspicious suburban house. He drove to a beautiful tree-lined street of brownstones in a neighborhood I knew well. My blood ran cold. This was where Tom lived. What was he doing here? He parked and I parked farther down the street, my mind reeling. I watched him walk up the steps of the brownstone right next to Tom's. He rang a bell, the door buzzed open and he disappeared inside. I sat there for an hour, my thoughts a chaotic whirlwind. Coincidence? It had to be. But the precision, the secrecy, it felt too specific. Had he become friends with Tom's neighbor? Why would he hide that? A new, more confusing dread settled over me. I drove home, my mystery now more profound than ever. A week later, the dam broke. We were at a group dinner and the topic, as always, found its way to Nomad's absence. I just think loyalty should be a two-way street, Regina pronounced, slicing into her steak. And he's not showing you any. Tom again was the voice of reason. Guys, maybe we should just back off. It's their business. But Donna, with the calm, persuasive authority of a seasoned general, delivered the final push. Tom, with all due respect, it's her business too. She turned her gaze to me, her eyes soft with manufactured pity. I was talking to my cousin, the private investigator. He said this kind of rigid, secretive behavior is a textbook indicator of a double life. He said the only way to get peace of mind is to have evidence. To remove the doubt. Have you ever considered just looking? For your own sanity. The table fell silent. It meant going through his phone. It was a line I never thought I'd cross. It felt like a profound violation, the death knell of trust. But the word sanity resonated. I felt like I was losing mine. The not knowing was a constant grinding torture. That night I went to his apartment. He was in the shower. The water was running. His phone, a sleek black slab of all my answers, was sitting on the kitchen counter, unlocked. My heart hammered in my ears, drowning out the sound of the water and the screaming of my own conscience. I opened his calendar. There it was. A recurring event stretching back for over a year. Every Sunday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. The title wasn't a code. It was a name, Ethan. My breath hitched. Ethan. Who was Ethan? A lover? A secret child? I opened his messages, my fingers trembling so violently I could barely type. I found the thread with Ethan. The messages were sparse, clinical almost. Nomad, running 5 minutes late. See you soon. Ethan, no problem. Ethan, thanks for everything today. I mean it. Couldn't do this without you. And then the message that sent a chill straight to my soul. Ethan, please let's keep this between us. You know how my family is. They wouldn't understand. You know how my family is. The words echoed in the silent kitchen. The shower stopped. I dropped the phone back onto the counter as if it had burned me, my entire body trembling with a toxic cocktail of guilt, fear, and a sickening sense of vindication. There was a secret. A big one. I couldn't hold it in. The next day, after a sleepless night, I confronted him. The words tumbled out of me in a choked, tearful torrent. Who is Ethan? I demanded, my voice cracking. I know you see him every Sunday. I'm so tired of the lies, Nomad. Just tell me the truth. Are you in love with him? Is that it? The look on his face will be seared into my memory forever. It wasn't guilt or anger. It was a profound, gut-wrenching shock, which then crumpled into a deep, bone-weary sadness. He sank onto the couch and put his head in his hands. The silence stretched for an eternity. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red-rimmed. Ethan, he said, his voice hoarse, is Tom's brother. The world stopped. Tom? My friend Tom. He nodded slowly. Ethan is a recovering opioid addict. He's been clean for 18 months, and every single day of that 18 months has been a battle. Those Sunday afternoons. I'm his sponsor. I've been his sponsor since about 6 months before I met you. I felt the floor vanish from beneath me. All the air left my lungs. What? But why? How do you even know him? He took a deep, shuddering breath. Because I've been where he is, Maya. I'm in recovery too. 5 years clean. He said it quietly, but with a stark, unvarnished honesty that left no room for doubt. I got involved with a mentorship program after I got my life back on track. I was matched with Ethan. Our meetings, they're sacred. They're a matter of life and death. The anonymity, the absolute privacy, it's the foundation of the entire program. It's not my secret to tell. It was his. Tom's family is. They're good people, but they're very image conscious. They struggled with Ethan's addiction for years. They prefer to pretend it never happened. Ethan asked me, he begged me not to tell anyone, especially not Tom. He needed to do this for himself, without his family's hovering anxiety or their expectations. Tom just thinks Ethan goes to standard group meetings on Sundays. I was utterly speechless. The cathedral of anxiety I had built collapsed in an instant, replaced by a crushing, all-consuming wave of shame. His secrecy wasn't deceit. It was integrity. It was loyalty. It was a quiet, heroic commitment to saving another human being. And I had spied on him. I had accused him. I had reduced his profound act of service to a tawdry affair. Why didn't you just tell me that? I finally whispered, my voice barely audible. Because it wasn't just my story to share. he repeated, his gaze steady. And because I was terrified. I didn't know how you'd see me. That software architect is a lot easier to love than the former addict. I was going to tell you, I swear. I was waiting for the right moment and for Ethan to feel strong enough in his recovery to be okay with it. I was falling in love with you, and I was so scared of losing you over a past I've worked so hard to overcome. The guilt was a physical pain. But as his words settled, a new chilling realization began to dawn, cold and sharp in the pit of my stomach. Nomad, I said slowly, my mind racing, connecting horrifying dots. Does Tom know you're his brother's sponsor? No, Nomad said firmly. Ethan was adamant. He said Tom had been his enabler for years, always bailing him out, and he needed to do this completely on his own. He didn't want his family's pressure. Tom has no idea. The final piece of the true puzzle clicked into place with an almost audible snap. Tom didn't know. But my other friends, Donna, Regina, Jess, they had been the most vocal, the most insistent that Nomad was hiding something sinister. They had pushed me to distrust him, to invade his privacy, to believe he was a liar or a cheat. And they knew. They had to know. Tom had confided in them about his brother's addiction years ago. They knew the family's dynamic. When they saw Nomad's secretive pattern, they must have at least suspected it was connected to Ethan and his recovery. They knew it was something deeply sensitive, something related to anonymity and a fragile, hard-won sobriety. And yet, they had deliberately, maliciously, and systematically pushed me toward the worst possible interpretation. They hadn't been trying to protect me, they had been trying to sabotage me. The following days were a blur of grim resolution. I went to see Tom first. I was careful, not revealing Ethan's specific secret, but I told him I'd learned that Nomad's commitment was a confidential mentorship in a support program. Tom's reaction was immediate and genuine. He looked relieved. Oh wow. That actually makes a lot of sense. I'm glad he has someone like that. God, I'm sorry, Maya. I should have shut the others down harder. I didn't want to get in the middle. Then I asked the crucial question. Tom, a long time ago when Ethan was really struggling, did you ever talk to the others about it? Tom looked down, ashamed. Yeah, I did. It was really hard. I needed to talk to someone. I confided in Donna, Regina, and Jess. They were my support system. They know everything my family went through. They know how private we've had to be about it. There was the confirmation. They knew. They all knew. The confrontation with Donna, Regina, and Jess was one of the most difficult things I have ever done. I didn't mention addiction or sponsorship. I simply laid out the facts I could share. I know what Nomad does on Sundays, I stated, my voice cold and steady. It's a confidential, charitable mentorship. Something good. Something honorable. And the three of you, knowing how much I loved him and how much this was torturing me, deliberately, repeatedly, pushed me to believe he was a criminal, a cheater, a liar. You encouraged me to violate his privacy. You knew it was likely something sensitive and you weaponized my fear. Why? The mask of concerned friendship shattered. Regina was the first to snap. Oh, don't be so dramatic. We were looking out for you. It was suspicious behavior. For all we knew, he could have been a cheater. But Donna, the master strategist, faltered. She couldn't meet my gaze. We thought he was wrong for you, she mumbled. He was so quiet, so reserved. He was changing you. You weren't as much fun. You were always worried about him. We missed our friend. We thought if you saw his flaws, you'd come back to us. That we could get the old Maya back. Jess just stared at her hands, silent, her complicity written in the slump of her shoulders. The admission was breathtaking in its selfishness. This wasn't about protecting me, it was about possessing me. They would rather see my relationship destroyed and my heart broken than risk losing their place as the center of my universe. They had used my deepest insecurities as tools to manipulate me. The old Maya is gone, I said, my voice trembling with a fury I had never felt before. And you three are the reason why. Our friendship is over. The fallout was ugly. They called me a traitor, controlled, brainwashed. Donna told me I'd come crawling back when Nomad and I inevitably broke up. But their words had no power over me anymore. The illusion was broken. The final update is one of healing and clarity. Nomad, showing a depth of compassion I still don't feel I deserve, forgave me. Our relationship was rebuilt, not on the shaky ground of infatuation, but on the solid foundation of radical honesty and hard-won trust. I met Ethan a month later with his full permission. He was a quiet, kind-eyed young man who shook my hand and told me, "Your boyfriend is the reason I'm alive and standing here today. Thank you for sharing him with me." Tom, Lisa, and the other Maya were horrified when I told them the full story with Nomad and Ethan's permission. They have become my true pared-down friend group, relationships based on mutual respect rather than manipulation. The Sunday obligation is no longer a mystery. It's a quiet, humbling reminder of the man I love, a man of immense strength and quiet integrity. And it's a permanent lesson that sometimes, the most dangerous secrets aren't the ones our partners keep from us, but the cruel and envious ones hidden in the hearts of those we call our friends.